Okay, quick explanation of what I'm doing here. I built a model to simulate a 116 trophy car in Assetto Corsa. It's a hacked version of a Mazda MX-5 model or Miata. So what I'll do is I'll stick a link in here to the video that explains about the model, and I've recently updated it because a friend of mine, David Hudson, who actually is featuring in the race I'm in this video, he spotted the fact that I'd incorrectly coded the power curve. So I've corrected that. I've done a few other really minor tweaks, and now we've got the opportunity to check the new model versus real life. So last weekend I raced at Silverstone on the international configuration, which is the southern part of the Grand Prix circuit. And what I've got here is a side-by-side comparison of my real lap, which is the lower half of the screen that you see in front of you, and then me trying to emulate the same performance with Assetto Corsa and the model. So I'm going to play it, just play it right the way through one time, and then we'll go back and we'll look at different parts of it. So we're starting from going around Club Curve just before the start-finish line, and as we go under this gantry, that's where the timing line is, and I've synchronised the videos based on that timing line. Okay, now let's go back and look at this section by section. The first thing I noticed throughout this video is at some points there is a big discrepancy in speed. If you look here, 88 kph in the real video versus 104 in the AC video. Now what you do notice as I start this playing again, that suddenly the real video speed jumps quite quickly. I have a feeling this may be to do with the fact that I'm using GPS to calculate the speed on the overlay for the real car video, and the reason for this is because I'm running different tyre sizes and different wheel and tyre sizes. You can't use the speedo in the car and the speed measured by the car because it's inaccurate. It's about 10% out. So that could explain this. The next issue is the timing line. So as we come around Club, notice the first line here, and then we have another timing line under the gantry. As we go through this video, you'll notice that there's a consistent 3-second difference in lap time, and it seems as though AC is measuring from the time under the gantry, and in real life for this particular race the timing was being measured on the first timing line. So that's just another little discrepancy. The next issue I noticed was when we get down the end of this straight, there's a fast right-hander called Abby. In the real car, I can get round Abby without lifting about 20% of the time. In the sim, I can do it every single time without problems. So there's a slight discrepancy there. This curve now is farm. The left, it's just a fast left-hander, not a very tight curve, but you'll notice if you look at the GG meter, you'll see that it goes up to 1. It feels like you're hanging on for dear life as you go round it, particularly if you've come fast round Abbey. You don't get that sensation in the sim, obviously, but I'm running out about the same distance from the left-hand side of the track in the sim as I am in real life, so that looks pretty good. The next corner is a right-hander called Village. It's slightly more than a 90-degree turn. You'll see in the real video I'm slightly ahead here of the sim, but they do the times. I think the sim time is 1:29:36 and the real time is 1:29:41, or could be the other way around actually, but they are very close, within a few tenths of each other, or hundredths actually. You see here the discrepancy in speed again though, 77 versus 66. The car understeers, or can understeer if you are too aggressive with this corner, the real car, and actually the sim model seems to be behaving the same way, so that looks good. Okay, so we now go past the entry to the Grand Prix, the remainder of the Grand Prix circuit on the left. This is called the Loop. The next corner is Chapel, right-hander, 90-degree right-hander onto the hanger straight. Very controversial. I'll show you why in a minute because of track limit issues. You see the access road on the left. I was braking as I got to the far side of this access road. You don't brake too hard. You want to try and carry as much speed through Chapel. Getting Chapel right is so critical to maintaining the speed down the hanger straight. One thing to note here, look at the speed, 102 kph versus 103, so that looks quite accurate at that point. Okay, so we're now sort of just gone past the apex of Chapel. The speed difference is big again. We've got 11 kph difference. This isn't quite as clear as I'd hoped. You see the markings on the left-hand side. What we have here is the Grand Prix circuit rejoins this southern loop at this point, and the edge of the international circuit, which is the one that we're racing on, is marked by these white lines. Now, if you come around Chapel too fast, of course, you'll run over those lines, run out wide, and then come back in and go down the hanger straight. And if you do that, you can gain significant time. But of course, this is really controversial. You might have already seen on forums people voicing their discontent about this, but discontent. A lot of people were really upset by the number of track limit penalties that were issued because of this corner. I felt we were given clear instructions, and I disagree that it was unfair. We all knew what the rules were. I know there had been some problems the day before where the rules had been applied in a bit of a haphazard way, but certainly on the Sunday I felt that things were fairly consistent. Now there is a couple of differences with the model versus real life. The first one is the markings on the road are slightly different, and the second one is I feel that in the sim model the white line on the left is slightly further to the right than it is in real life, which makes it, you'll see I actually run slightly wide in the sim model here, and I do think it's slightly too tighter than it is in real life. Notice how the speed has immediately realigned itself. As soon as you get onto the straight, the speeds seem to get themselves back in sync. So it's something to do with GPS and corners, I think. That's the issue. Okay, now we're coming down to Stowe. I brake just at the start of the curb there. I'm going around in 4th gear, which is sometimes I did in the real race and sometimes I didn't. But I've tried to copy that in the sim session. Now we're coming down to Vale, tight left hand chicane and then a right hander. So we go in 2nd, accelerate, short shift into 3rd as we go across the apex of the right hander and then out and then across the apex of club, and we're back in the start finish straight again. Now I've rushed through those last 3 corners, Stowe, the chicane at Vale and Club Corner. I didn't really notice any difference between the model and real life for those corners, which is quite good because obviously if there was a big issue with power, for example, you'd probably notice it through the chicane, and if there were massive differences with handling, particularly understeer probably, then Stowe would have been the corner where we would have seen that. I think the model does understeer slightly more than real life, but it could be that I'm being in the car and feeling the car rotating underneath you. It's probably a lot easier for you to control the rotation with the accelerator in the real car than you can achieve in the model. So overall, I reckon the model's pretty good. There's still an issue with rev limiter, so that needs fixing. I'm still not totally convinced about the rack ratio. I think the steering rack ratio may be different, and I've got to research how to correct that. Other than that, I'm not sure what else I can do with this, but I'm open to suggestions. So if you're playing with this and you notice some differences, then please do let me know. Obviously, what would be really nice is, first thing is changing from left-hand drive to right-hand drive in the model would be good, and also changing the outside appearance so that it actually looks like a 1 Series. But for my purposes, I don't really care because I'm just using it to practice before I go into a race. So my next race is at Alton Park, so we'll do a similar comparison at Alton Park.